All right, so here we are outside of the Boston University College of Communication on April 29th, the second day of the Podcast Academy here at Boston University. Some of the interesting stats from yesterday: not only were 200 people plus inside at the Podcast Academy, but hundreds were streaming online. Breakdown of who's streaming online, not only people in the US, but all around the world. People from Canada, Germany, Turkey, Australia, Japan, and the UK were streaming the Podcast Academy live. As Doug Kaye said in the beginning, we have 160, 200 people here at the Podcast Academy, but hopefully we'll be able to reach 16,000 plus people by the archives, the podcasts, and everything on the website that you can find at bu.edu/com/podcast. That's bu.edu/com/podcast. So let's go inside and take a look. Follow me. So we're going to go inside the College of Communication right now, and then we're going to go upstairs and take a look at the brain center of the Podcast Academy, where everything is happening upstairs. Let's take a look inside. Come on in, join me. So here we are, we're walking inside. Right up here is the brain center of the Podcast Academy. That's where everything is happening, secured by a special swipe card. Right now it's actually propped open with a piece of newspaper. But why don't we go upstairs and take a look and find out what's going on up there. Here we are coming up here to the brain center of the Podcast Academy. This is where everything is happening. As you can see, we have laptops, projectors. There is the Podcast Academy out that window. That's where everyone is learning. But up here is where all the action's happening. Back there, over by the computer, is our chief tech guy, Jake. So what's going on up here, Jake? Let me get in there with the microphone. Jake, explain to us what's happening up here.
Hey, well, quite a bit. We're actually we're doing more or less real-time podcasting, so we're recording everything, audio and video. Takes us about, depending on what time of day it is, about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to package it up, encode it, upload it to the website, and then I let the web guy know, John, and he just takes care of putting it on the website, making a link to it, and takes care of all that. That's sort of one half of what we're doing. The other half is we're doing just a live webcast, and that's actually done really well. We were a little bit surprised that we thought, well, maybe a couple people will see it, people who tune in for the day, but it's turned out to be just I think yesterday there was 150 people listening simultaneously from all over the place. So I've been kind of now a little bit nervous, being like, well, I guess I gotta really make sure my camera's angles look good and everything works out well.
So up here in the booth, we're sitting just above the actual Podcast Academy. All the attendees are down there. Here's our camera that's set up, recording and going for the webcast. So Jake, take us through some of the technical specifications of what we got going on here.
I will admit, but I gotta actually see that this is not gonna go someplace right.
All right, we've got to make sure that everything's going smoothly up here in the audio-video booth here at the Podcast Academy at Boston University. So we've got a lot of different equipment up here, and right now Jake, are we all set?
Let me just go for a wider shot. This is the camera over here that we're using to capture this, and I just want to get a wider shot for the questions. Okay, so that should be good enough for now. So sort of starting from way over here, coming back, and this is kind of I don't want to say an antiquated system, but we're in a room that used to be a projector booth, probably made 50 years ago. So there's a lot of history in here, to say the least.
Yeah, I bet.
The laptops all belong to John and Chad, our OIT staff. They're just mainly here just to make sure that everything looks good. On each of them, we play back the web stream, and then we can tell right away if something breaks or something isn't looking good.
Right.
Obviously, the projector projecting the video out to the screen, slide projectors, and 16mm film reels, not really used.
Haven't used them lately, huh?
No, not today, although they're used a couple days right before this started. So.
Oh, wow. So what do we got over here?
Over here, we just have all the audio mixing, and again, this is a lot of stuff which is sort of mishmash together. BU's Media Services maintains this, and actually one of our real challenges has been trying to interface our recording gear and our web gear and all this with all of this. It's not a nice, neat setup where we can easily patch out the video from one place. We actually need to run video cables from this room up to the front. We have another box at the front of the auditorium that's taking the video from the projectors, converting it to standard NTSC video, running it back up through a distribution amplifier out over here into our equipment, and then it gets split off and sent to all the different computers. So there's a lot that actually has to go on.
Did everyone follow that out there?
And it's worked out pretty well. So just the mic mixers, the mixers for the computer audio when we hook up iPods for all that. The wireless mic receivers coming over here. And this has definitely been sort of the real challenge. You can see we're actually using 2 different mixers to mix this whole thing together. We have a small mixer just sitting in the back of the rack, which I've only had to disconnect about half of the stuff. Going in there, splitting off the audio so everyone can still hear it out there, comes to another mixer where then we can adjust the audio levels to make sure they're appropriate for recording and for broadcast. Just because it sounds good in there doesn't necessarily mean it sounds good in here and vice versa. We have a camera just shooting at one of the windows, adjust that periodically. Not really sort of a broadcast type event with really strong video movement.
Right.
Static shots are pretty good for what we're doing.
There's this big on-off switch here. What's that do?
Well,
does
let's
that,
see.
Does that shut off the entire Podcast Academy?
This is actually this thing over here, which has nothing to do with us, but it's a giant rheostat. And when the lights dim and go up and down, there's a motor right here that just turns a giant disc. And that's actually how the lights dim. You actually find that a lot in recording studios because it doesn't make the RF noise that other equipment does.
Okay.
But not very interesting. Over here we have a whole bunch of computers. 2 G5s, one PC. The PC is what's taking in the webcast feed. So basically everything comes into this little box over here, just a little distribution amplifier. It splits the signal, sends the feed over to here, and this is going to be connected via Ethernet. Here's our switch, sent out so everyone can listen. That's where the 150 people listening right now are getting it from. On top of here, these are 2 recording devices that the presenters asked us to record to, mini disc and compact flash. That's just sort of backup recording just for audio. Moving down, the other 2 computers, I should say. This one is the one that's actually capturing the video, and because it takes a lot of computing power to encode it into the iPod format. We record on the one computer and then almost immediately transfer over to the other computer, which actually will do the encoding, and we'll split it up and get rid of the the audience and all the stuff beforehand and afterwards. So we just have what we want. DV deck, which we were using earlier to just convert the analog video into digital video, which the computers like better. Hard drive down there that's just saving a copy of everything to be used later on post-production. We have a switch over here that switches between the video camera feed and the feed to the projector. So when I switch it out, now we can see this slide that this guy has on his computer. Everyone in the world seeing this right now, and go back and forth. And we can also switch over to the video from the iPod when people hook up iPods. And then just the computer, which one screen for all 3 machines. We can switch back and forth depending on which machine we need to work on. This is the PC that's handling the web feed. This is the encoding Mac, the one that I've been using just to sort of package up and encode and upload them to the FTP site. So magically, it's all seemed to work pretty well so far.
Yeah, it seems like it's the brain center up here. If this is the real deal up here. So Jake, thanks for giving us a tour of this bat cave up here.
You're welcome. I'm eager to get out into the cold, though.
All right, reporting up here at the Bat Cave from the Podcast Academy, I'm Nick Barber.